Hi, everybody. I'm Tanya Baldwin from Mind, Body, Spirit, Healthy Self, and also the host of Trauma Talk Live and Trauma Talk Reels. I have a podcast on Spotify called Trauma Talk Live, as well as I broadcast this to YouTube. I am a trauma wellness healer. I combine my registered nurse background, my lived experience, my experience in education and management, as well as my experience with trauma, both lived and education, in creating a healing package for people. And I do incorporate a bit of witchiness in that healing. So anyway, that's a bit about me. I have done the card pull for the collective. After the collective reading, I open it up to individual readings. And if you're looking for a card or want some clarity, you just have to let me know what your name is. Now, I did put in the top of this how you can go into StreamYard, which is just streamyard.com/Facebook, and you can give it permission to share your username. You only have to do this once, and then once it's been given, then I'll be able to see who's commenting. And if you don't have any intentions on commenting at all, then you don't have to do that. There's just no point. So today is all about 11s. I've been pulling a lot of 11s, and even the card that I pulled for myself, because I pull a card for myself every day to get just what is my message today from Spirit. And I use it to kind of guide. And really what I do is I reflect on what the message is from the card. And then at the end of the day, I review it and I write down a little note to say, well, this is how this showed up for me. So then it gives you the ability to really get in touch with your intuition a little bit more. So 11s have been pretty big because the card that I pulled earlier was 38, which reduces down to 11, and 11 is a master number. The card that I have pulled for us today to start is Breathe, which is number 29, again, reduces to 11, and I pulled it in the protection state. So breathe, the essential meanings: patience, waiting, going slowly, wellness, meditation, trust. The oracle's message: patience in all things is called for right now. What do you need to do when you're in a rush? Slow down, of course. Meditate and trust. Breathe and repeat. Humans cannot exist without drawing breath. Now is the time to allow the life-giving element of air to replenish your body, your being, and your very essence. Stop to smell the roses, breathe in the sunlight, and release the darkness, and miracles will appear. So the protection message of this card, because I did pull it in protection state, is inertia, laziness, and apathy are signs not of slowing down, but of decay and lifelessness. Wake up and do something to shake this off. Go outside for some air. A walk in nature will remind you that all life is ensouled and magical. Get some exercise, move out of your head and into your body, and breathe in deeply. Each breath is precious. And that's a great reminder, right? And I agree. Get out in nature, clear out your head. I went for a run walk this morning. I have a track that I walk my dog on. That's approximately a half an hour to walk it. And that's, it's probably closer to 25 minutes when you take out about 5 minutes worth of Cass's sniffing. But I walk around that. And I did that this morning. I went trying to make it a part of my daily routine to have that physical fitness, whether it's yoga, a walk, whether it's a run or lifting weights. There's so many different ways that we can put activity in our life. And it's so good for our mental health, right? If you want to get a kick of endorphins, then, to feel good. And when you think about, like, there's that whole runner's high. Now, I've never got to that point yet because I haven't ran long enough to get to the runner's high in quite some time. Because I kind of laugh. I think that, me running now, there's probably been about a 25-year hiatus. I used to get up in the morning and I used to run about a half an hour or 3-kilometer run in the morning. I used to go for a 3K. And I'm just going to close this one page because I don't want that binging while we're doing our broadcast. There. I'm back again. So the first card, 29, which becomes 11. Second card, 11. And like I said, the card I pulled for myself today was 11. It was a number 38, which becomes 11. So a lot of 11s coming up right now. And tomorrow is 11/11. And it is a huge, huge time for manifestation. And even today is a great time for manifestation. But tomorrow's going to be a really good day for that, being 11/11/22. So deep quiet, meditation, stillness. And it's interesting because I pulled breathe and now deep quiet. So there's, and even though that was in protection mode and it talks about, getting out in nature and exercising and stuff, there's still a meditative quality to exercise. And hello here. Hi. So there is instructions in the description for today that says how to do it. But to give you a quick, again, it's just go to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and you can give it permission to share your username on Facebook. Facebook's the only one that is like this. Like you can share, it shows your name if you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, but for some reason on Facebook, you have to actually give it permission. And so you have to do that. And you only have to do it once and then it's good. But let's get back to the main reading, which is about deep quiet, meditation, stillness, clarity. When deep quiet appears, it is a message from the cosmos calling you to stillness, to step outside the concerns of your daily life. This does not mean to slow down and take a breath, although that is a good start. The cosmos is inviting you to go deep. Go to that place where the noise stops and there is only the vast emptiness of inner space. When we don't respond to the invitation offered by deep quiet, life can stop us in our tracks with an illness or a crisis. Listen to the still, small voice. Remember that you want to catch spirit on a whisper, not on a shout. And it is only human to argue that you are too busy to slow down, that you don't have the time, the inclination, or the money for a retreat. Do not let any of these reasons get the better of you. Stop the world and enter the deep quiet before you come to a crashing halt. After you have said yes to this invitation, you will find that the world can get along quite well without the need for you to manage it. You will still enjoy the freedom that comes with stillness, the clarity and spaciousness offered by silence. So it's a really good message to just slow down and take a breath, right? We are not to be human doings. Sometimes we're just human beings. And we just have to be in that quiet. And when you stop and you pause and you meditate and you get reflective and introspective, that's how you find out a lot of stuff about you or about your situations that you're experiencing. So I definitely, the message here for whoever this message was for, or for the collective as a whole, is to pull back into your internal world, into your home, back into that smaller little circle, to breathe, to meditate, to take that space of stillness in your life and to receive clarity from it. And I couldn't pull 3 11s. That would have been I did. If I count my card, I pulled 3 11s. But the next card that I pulled was number 21, the world. And I just love that card. It's so beautiful with the sacred geometry around it. The Merkaba, the little star. I have a Merkaba. Oh, look at this. I can even reach it. I have a little rose quartz Merkaba. I don't know where maybe it's very hard to see it because to see the shape of it. Because once I come in, you can see that it's a Merkaba, but it doesn't look as clear as it could because for some reason my camera just wants to wash right out to white. Getting a reminder that it's my time to go live. I don't need that. So let's read what the world is all about. Number 21. So this deck here for the tarot, I use the Light Seers Tarot. And it's the only tarot card that I use, that the deck that I use in these particular readings. I do have some other tarot decks. Like I have the Voyager Tarot deck, which is it's just absolutely stunning, but in a different quality. And then I have another, I think it's a Spirit or Angels Oracle, or sorry, tarot. So I have 3 tarot decks, I think, in total. And then I have probably like 20 Oracle decks. I don't know, something like that. I have quite a few Oracle decks. So the 2 Oracle decks that I pull from are wisdom of the oracle deck, and then the shaman's dream oracle. So those are the 2 oracles that I pull from. So let's see what the message is about the world. And then we'll pull some individual cards. If you're interested in having a card pulled, just let me know your name and that you would like a card, and I will pull a card for you. So for Lightseer, completion, joy, wholeness, achievement, happy endings, abundance, success, new levels of consciousness, literally traveling the world. The Shadow Seer, taking shortcuts, a need for closure, a need to follow through, staying focused in order to complete an unfinished task, a delay in plans, unmet dreams. The world brings one of the most positive and abundant messages in the tarot. Congratulations, you've come so far. A large project or period in your life is coming to a successful conclusion, and it's time to revel in the sweet afterglow of your success. If you're not quite there yet, take this card as a sign that you're on the right path. Consciously step into the world's ascension energy and welcome this beautiful shift as your inner spiritual landscape merges with your outer reality. As you reach this stage of fruition, remain focused. Don't slacken your resolve as you glimpse the magic at the end of the long journey, because it's time to follow through with your final steps and complete the cycle. Even in shadow, the world is a positive card that signals bliss and happy endings with oodles of positive energy on the way. I accept this gift of completion, and I ascend to new levels of awareness and wholeness. I am loved. I can't read this morning, but I accept this gift of completion, and I ascend to new levels of awareness and wholeness. I am love. There we go. I said it better this time. So that's a pretty great message that we're receiving from the cards this morning, right? When we look at all of them combined. This was in protection. So it was about going in nature and exercise and getting yourself focused through those forms. There's a meditative quality to the state that you're in. And it isn't about stopping or not doing things. It's about actually going within, making your circle smaller, coming back into, the smaller world, right? Not being out there looking at what all's going on out there in the world, but looking what is going on in your world, because what you can control is what's in your actual world, right? We can't control what's going on out there. We can only control what we are doing or how we're experiencing things. So remember to breathe, do some meditation, and then you're on the right path. You're headed towards everything that you want is coming. There we go. Now you can see it. It's coming to fruition. It may be right at the brink of it. It may be a little bit further away yet for some of us, but just know that you are on the right path. But maybe do some meditation for some clarity and get out in nature with some exercise. Okay. Awesome. Go within. Great. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card. And when I pull a card, I always pull from the wisdom of the oracle deck. And the reason why I pull from that deck is because I like that it has multiple messages encased within it. So you can get, a message that's directed specifically at relationships or prosperity, or in some cases, if I pull it in the protection state, then you're getting a protection message. So I think it's just more full bodied for an individual card pull. But I do have other decks, and someday maybe I'll switch it up a little bit and I'll pull out some different decks. So I will pull a card for Miriam. And if anyone else wants a card, again, just remember, unless you've allowed StreamYard permission to share your username, I have no idea who is commenting. It just says Facebook user. So if you want a card, just let me know your name and that you'd like a card, and I'll pull one for you. Should almost play music so that when I'm looking for the cards that there's some music being played rather than just the quiet. So what I pulled for you is number 23. I pulled it in protection, peace. Okay, so I'll read what the essential meaning is in the main oracle message, and then I'll read what the protection message is. Okay, number 23. We got some really good numbers this morning, like when you consider how they all work out, but a lot of A lot of interesting numbers. So you can also look up the number 23 or 5, because 23 would be reduced down to 5 numerologically, to see what other message might appear from the number 5 or 23. So the essential meaning: freedom from attachment, radical acceptance. The oracle's message: it doesn't get any better than this: a quiet mind, a heart fulfilled, freedom from want, and the soul's satisfaction. The way to peace is through radical acceptance. Everything in your world is exactly as it should be. Harmony is beautiful. Enjoy it. So, the protection message: now is a time for calmness and well being in spite of temporary conditions. Even if there are dissonant notes in the music of your life, all that means is that you must go within and fine tune the extraordinary instrument that you are. Find harmony within yourself, and don't look to the outer world to provide certainty. This too shall pass, and once again, your life will be filled with beautiful music. I think some of these cards that I was pulling was actually for you, when you think about the message to go within again, right? To be in your inner world. So maybe you need to be looking at doing some meditation, even if it's a walking meditation, right? And there you'd be combining both the physical activity out in nature, finding, the beauty and the miracle that nature is, on top of doing some meditation. So I don't know if you've ever done a walking meditation, but it is quite fun. It's quite a nice way to do a meditation. So if anyone else wants a card pull, just let me know, because I'm not seeing any other comments here for a card. And I know some days are busier than others. Thursday today, the 10th of November, it's a smaller day, not as many people joining the live, and that's fine. Someone said yes, but I don't know who said yes. If you wouldn't mind dropping me your name, and that way there I can see who it is to pull the card for you. So I have scheduled in my calendar now to go live at 9 a.m. every day. So it is actually booked in my calendar. So it'll be just more of a standard thing. So whoever wants a card, I just need you to write your name, and it doesn't have to be your full name, just your first name will do. But that way there I can channel your energy a little bit, and I know who I'm pulling the card for. Okay. And if nobody wants a card, then, it'll be just a quick show. Good morning, Amarpreet. How are you today, love? I hope that you are doing well. If you did not get the message from the main reading this morning, the main reading was about, exercising, getting with nature, meditating, going internal, bringing your world into that smaller inner space, because we can't control the stuff that's way out there in life. We can only control what's within our body and our spirit and our mind, which in our world, our inner world. So again, I'm not seeing anyone saying out loud that they are with a name saying that they want a card pulled. So I'm just going to sit here and chat for a few more minutes. And if not, then we'll hop off here shortly. But if somebody wants a card, do let me know your name. Yeah. So good morning. Hi, Stacy. Good morning, love. I will pull a card for you for sure. I hope that you're doing well. It's beautiful weather in Ontario right now. We're having a lovely, unseasonably warm fall this year, which I'm loving, because when I'm just left Alberta and I look at Alberta and they're in a deep freeze with lots of snow, I'm like, I got out just in time. I should send all my colleagues pictures of Ontario right now in the sun and that is so nice and warm. I'm actually in a tank top because I went for a run and I came back home and I still haven't been able to get cool enough to wear a real shirt. So it's definitely, I think it was 11 degrees when I went for the run, and it was overcast and there was a breeze, but still beautiful. Yes. Good bike ride today would be awesome. All right. Let's see what card we have for Stacy. I think this one right here is calling out to me. Okay. So the card that I pulled, number 14. Actually, I found if I hold it on this side and block the window, we can see it a little bit better. Truth be told. Beautiful. I love that suggestion. Okay. Good morning. If you let me know your name, I'll put you in the queue. That way I can sit it in my mind. Stacy, then next. So truth be told, Stacy, number 14. So you could also look at the number 14 or the number 5, because being reduced to, it would get reduced to 5 for a message. I did pull it straight up, so not in protection mode. And let's see what the whole message. Hi, Sarah. So essential meanings: honesty, accepting things at face value, coming out of denial, the willingness to be transparent, clarity of communication. The oracle's message: there is the truth, which is the essence of a thing, and then there is a truth, subjective according to the philosophy of the adherent or believer. This is not the time for a debate about which truth is truer. This is a time when you are called to proclaim your truth out loud and be willing to be transparent, honest, and open in your communication with others and with yourself. Nothing less than surrender to what is, peeling off the layers of denial that keep you tied to an illusion, will set you free. Be authentic and gloriously flawed, and spirit will answer with miracles. So if you're asking in a relationship, people will tell you who they are very quickly if you're willing to listen to what they say and pay attention to how they behave. This card calls you to engage in heartfelt, open conversation. It's time to see the truth about what you share with each other and tell the truth about who you are and what you need. No one can do that for you. Remember that your truth is always based in your personality and experience up till now. A higher truth will be found after you communicate honestly and see how doing so has helped you become more attuned with yourself. Don't hold back. Speak your truth and listen. It's a very important message. I'll give you a little note on it after I talk about the prosperity thing. The prosperity message: are you willing to do whatever it takes to experience the prosperous life you desire? If you want to be an artist, do you make your art a priority? If you want to be a healer, do you set time aside to learn new things to help you serve? A writer must write, a singer must sing. Be true to your calling. Being true to your calling is essential to your moving forward. There is another oracle message here too. It's time to have a look at the real, honest truth about your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about prosperity, about your relationship to money, to compensation, and to meaningful work. Ask yourself, what is true for me? And you will find the key to abundance. So one of the things I've noticed in my healing is how much more I am willing to just have those honest conversations, even when they're tough. And my friend actually commented last night because she said, I'm so happy to like to hear you talking. Like it's just it's so huge to see the change and the way that you've changed in your life. And, to hear that you're having those tough conversations, that you're calling people out and saying like, what is the truth here? What are you talking about? And being okay with saying, before I was such anxiously attached that, somebody would have asked me something and said, can you help me with this? Or can you do this? Or, can you be here for me in this way? And I'd be like, sure, because without you, I'm not lovable, because I need to have I need to be in a relationship to know that I'm lovable. I need to be with somebody, partnered, to say, yes, I have love, I'm lovable, and I'm loving. So it was where all my worth was assigned, was in these other relationships that I had, which sucked because they weren't healthy relationships. So oftentimes it was just reaffirming consistently how I felt about myself, that I wasn't enough. I wasn't worthy enough. So now that I've stepped through the healing process. Now I'm like, you can be in my life, but only if there's a give and take. There has to be a reciprocative experience here. And it's not just going to be me giving of myself. And I'm not going to give of myself to the point where it's, all of my value assigned in someone else. Good morning, Mary. Oh, amazing. Yes. Good. So, being honest is tough, but in the end, you're going to get exactly what should be aligned with you, right? I don't want a false person in my life. I don't want somebody in my life because I'm too afraid to be alone, because I'm not. I'm building a life for myself that I love and enjoy. So having those truthful, honest conversations is something that's a little bit easier for me now, because I want them to either be true and align with me, or just go. I I love my life. I love me. I love the way that, my day to day is. So if you're going to be in my life, you better add to it. Right. So that's where I've gotten to with my healing, which is a huge, huge thing, from being the person that would have been begging and pleading, don't leave me, don't go, don't, don't, or I would have been, giving up my truth just to make sure that I didn't have those conflicts or issues, because I wouldn't have wanted to, potentially strain a relationship. So it's nice to see that coming forward. I hope that card resonated with you, Stacy. And I think it resonates with all of us, right? Being true and having those really tough conversations. So I'll pull a card for you, Sarah. Oh, yes. I have a new person that I've been talking to for quite some time, for probably almost 6 months, that I've been talking to. And I'm very much like, nope, I'm going to be completely 100% me. And if you say something and it makes my, my mind go toot, 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 I'm going to ask you questions, because the way through is with clarity and honesty. And if you can't be clear and honest with me, or if it doesn't make sense to me, then it's not for me. I will meditate on it too, because that's what we were told to do today, right? Go within to find clarity. So this card's for Sarah. And then if anyone else wants a card, just let me know. I'll go till almost 10 today, but I do have a call at 10. So I'm going to jump off like right before 10 to make sure that I can hop into that call. But for right now, card for Sarah. I want to stay there. I think I know. Sarah, I've gotten this card before, and I always, like, my heart always goes, when I get this card. Not for you, number 6. I pulled it in the protection state. So I will read the essential meaning, and I will read the oracle's message and then the protection message. Okay. I've pulled this card a few times, and I've pulled it in readings for the general collective before. It comes up quite a bit. So the not for you, good morning, Melissa. Not for you, the essential meaning, a clear knowing that something is being denied you. Rejection is God's protection. The oracle's message. There are times when it appears that no matter how deeply you desire something, no matter how hard you work at something, the result you seek always seems to elude you. It's as if you don't really get to be in the game and you feel you're just watching from the sidelines. The appearance of this card indicates that you are not going to attain what you want right now, that indeed your dreams for the exact thing will not be fulfilled. This is time to radically accept that not everything is available to you when you want it. Take heart, for there are benevolent forces who desire the best for you and have a much clearer idea of what is for your highest good. Rejection is God's protection. Something much better will make you truly happy, and it's on its way. Trust this. So the protection message: don't chase after what flees from you. Don't obsess over what eludes you. Don't bang your head against the wall. There's nothing romantic about what is unavailable. No prize given for torturing yourself, and nothing to be gained by refusing to see the red flags that have been waving since you began your pursuit. Now is the time to walk away. There are other goals, other loves, other games, other successes waiting for you. The way out of obsessing is radical acceptance and surrender. Spirit wants only the best for you. This is a sign that you have something much better waiting for you. Trust it. And I can say that again. We are bad for not seeing or not accepting red flags when they come up, and whether it's a red flag that comes up in your healing. So I knew that I had trauma. I was very well aware that my life was traumatic. You can't have had the experiences that I had and not recognize there was trauma through those experiences. I have probably, even if I just look at my history in moving, I have moved in my life probably 60 times. And that's not an exaggeration. People sometimes question that. I'm 47 years old, turning 48 next month, less than a month till my birthday. But anyway, besides that, I had, when I was growing up, there were many years where we would move 2 to 3 times in a year. Sometimes, we spent different times where we were homeless, although we just were long-term camping. Um, Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. A Sharma just told me I looked like I was 37, and I said, "Well, I'll take it." Um, Thank you, Mom. Thank you, I guess, Dad. I don't like him too much, but thank you anyway. I have your genetics. So, um, you're going through relationships. So anyway, I knew I had trauma. There's where I was. I knew I had trauma just through, just my moving alone would be traumatic for somebody, right? To be constantly moved, to spend time homeless, all of that would be really traumatic, right? But I also had, abuse of every nature. I've been sexually assaulted more times than I can count. I was kidnapped when I was 15 and held captive for a month. I've repressed the memories from that experience. I have been physically assaulted on numerous occasions. I have had very much neglect, so many different things, financial abuse. I've had toxic relationships. I've had all of it spanning. When I was my first experience, besides the birth, right? Like my birth was traumatic because my mom was being traumatized. She was an abused woman while I was being gestated. I was born through a hit to the stomach with a baseball bat that sent my mom into early labor. And so it was a very traumatic birth for me. And then I don't believe that initially, because I was born 3 months early, I was not allowed to have the normal skin on and mom contact, because I was put in an incubator, because that's what they did back when you're born early, right? So I have had, from the moment of birth, and the first time that I was physically assaulted to the point where bruises were left on my body was as a 6-month-old baby, and it was from my dad because I was crying. So I've experienced trauma, and I knew that, but I still didn't do any healing because I thought the fact that I was excelling at school, I thought that the fact that I climbed the corporate ladder, I thought all of those things said that I had dealt with my trauma, that I had resolved it, because according to society standards, I was a success. And that was where I was mistaken. And when I continued going along on my journey, I got sick. And that's what prompted the healing, was the physical sickness that I started to have. I didn't recognize, I mean, my trauma, my relationships, I think initially I kept that outside viewpoint of, more along the lines of, why do I keep attracting such, bad people? Or why do I attract guys that cheat on me? Right? Like every relationship that I was in, I was cheated on by my partner. And it just reaffirmed my own belief system that I wasn't good enough. Right. And, that's how you set yourself up. And I'm sure that the people that I aligned with had characteristics from, my dad's, like my real dad, my stepdad's, or my mom, right? Like there was probably key components in there. So I was just reliving those traumas and how I was managing to show up for them. But like I said, it wasn't until I got sick. So I had those flags. I had lots of flags. I was just like, whatever, that's not a flag, right? They come knocking on your door and say, it's time to heal. It's time to heal. It's time to heal. And you either acknowledge that it's time to do the healing, or you keep plodding along and disregard that message that comes up, and you go further along. The further along you go, the more that it's going to affect you internally. So I ended up being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I had all kinds of testing and different, experiences with my health, till it got to the point where I had to actually leave my job. And, I had climbed that corporate ladder really well. I was the director of nursing, helping to run a hospital. I was managing the emergency department, acute care, and overseeing long-term care. I had a lot of roles and responsibilities within that job, and I loved it. But at the same time, it was a very, very stressful position. And I was dealing with stressors within my relationship too. And then my health got bad, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. Like at one point they were talking about getting me a wheelchair because I couldn't I couldn't balance my gait very well. And using a walker was one thing, but I was absolutely no way am I going to go into a wheelchair. There is no way. I don't care what I have to do. I'm not going in a wheelchair. So I finally took the time to step back from my job to heal. And once I took that time to step back to heal from what was originally a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, that's when I was overcome with my trauma. That's when it came full force into me. And I then had no choice but to have to work on healing it, because I was really captive with a panic disorder. And every night I would be woken up probably about an hour and a half into my sleep with a panic attack, and I couldn't get back to sleep. And I was being given, the way that, traditional medicine is, here's a pill, here's another pill. Well, that pill didn't work. Here's another one. Well, that type of pill didn't work. We'll put in this kind of pill. Well, you want a psycho, you want this pill, you want that pill, go up, go down. We'll just keep, playing with a cocktail of drugs until we get the right combination that it treats your symptoms and it treats the symptoms from the meds that we're giving you, because that's what ends up happening. So I worked really hard to, not only do, the medication to me is just a bandage. It's a bandage for you to have minimal symptoms while you deal on the underlying issues. And that's through a variety of ways. So I did CBT. So I did cognitive behavioral therapy. I did dialectical behavioral therapy. I did, I think in total, about 40 weeks worth of that in group programming. I saw a psychotherapist. I was really lucky because I've been to see therapists before. I've went to see numerous therapists, and I usually give them the bullshit test, and they basically would get just pushed to the side. Either they would do something that could be re-traumatizing, or I would go in and I would say, I was very studious, like I got a scholarship through university, or, at that point when I went, I've got perfect, like I have a 4.0 in nursing, I've had these traumas and stuff. And the whole thing was, well, you seem to be doing just fine. Like, what are you here for, kind of thing? And it's like, because I have trauma, because I have all this trauma, right? I have all this trauma. Like, you can't tell, like, there's a lot there. But they would make it seem like, well, you are successful. Like, where do you think you're struggling? Where do you think there's an issue? Where do you think you need to heal anything? And I'd be like, well, that's just bullshit. That's just bullshit that I don't have stuff to heal because I'm successful. But because they would say that, I'd be like, okay, I guess I'm fine. I guess I'm fine because I get good grades. I guess I'm fine because I got a good job. I guess I'm fine because I had kids and I've got a partner. But I didn't feel like fine. I felt like there was stuff that needed to be dealt with. So I would, okay, you're not a good therapist. Or I would go to one, like I said, and it would be a re-traumatizing experience. And it was like, oh, I'm not going to go to you then. When I finally found a therapist, and I found her when before I had my crash, I started seeing her, and she was, she's someone that was very, very experienced in PTSD, and worked with vets, which was, great crossover. But complex PTSD is different than PTSD. Because complex PTSD happens when you're in your developmental stages. So it actually affects how you feel about yourself and how you handle yourself within relationships, because it gets to the core of you, right? It gets to you when you're developing to alter you as an individual. And that's where you have to really do the work. With PTSD, that's acquired as an adult or as an older person, in that it wouldn't happen. You wouldn't call it PTSD if it happened between 0 and 7 years old, right? That's the complex part. When you're older, if I was to have one incident, let's say I had a really horrific car accident, that can be very traumatizing. And I could, be having a difficult time driving later on because I'm just terrified of having another accident. I could be, having flashbacks of the event. I could be avoiding the area in which I had the car accident because when I go near it, I have a panic attack, right? Those are PTSD. That's PTSD, but it hasn't affected who I am on the inside because it happened after I already developed who I was on the inside. with the childhood acquired trauma, it affects who you are on the inside. It affects your relationships. It gives you things like attachment disorders, right? You get unhealthy coping habits that you acquire that actually, work against you. So like seeing things in black and white. It might be great to see things in black and white as a kid because it could protect you from getting a slap. It could protect you, or it could get you to get some food, right? There's certain things that having those coping mechanisms helped you as a child, but they don't help you as an adult. They actually cause more harm than good when you're an adult, right? We constantly make assumptions. I'm going to read your body language and I'm going to predict what I think you're thinking. And I'm probably going to think of it in a negative aspect. So that was a big part of what I had to work through, but it was with having somebody that understood. With her, she understood PTSD, which helped her to navigate into understanding complex PTSD as well, in combination with the fact that I did the cognitive behavioral therapy and the dialectical behavioral therapy. But then I also healed in the way that I'm really good at healing, which is through education. And I consistently found more and more ways to educate myself on trauma healing. I joined symposiums, I took webinars, I took classes, I read books, like I did everything. I just absorbed as much knowledge as I could with that. But in the end, I came up with almost like a eureka moment where I was like, I know exactly what you need to do. And in and of itself, a lot of it is simple. And people don't like it when I say that, but it is. The breathing technique in itself is simple, right? It's easy to breathe. It really is. We do it all the time. And it's easy to change your breath from being normal, like I'm doing right now, to that breath was easy for me to do. I didn't have to get any special equipment. I didn't have to go anywhere. It's right here within me. And all the healing is right here within me. I don't have to go out to access it, right? If I change the food that I'm eating, I'll share a picture afterwards of the food that I had. Tapping is another. I do tapping all the time. I've done tapping. I have a reel on tapping about body image because I had an issue with my body image that I'm trying to work through. And part of that comes out of sexual assault. When you've been sexually assaulted, one of the things that can be a byproduct of it subconsciously, you don't want to be attractive because attractive people get attention. And when you get attention, that feels uncomfortable. And especially too much attention. Or you think, like a joke that I would make is it's harder to kidnap a chubby person. Right? Or the chubby person would be less, you're not going to be attracted to a chubby person to kidnap them in the first place. Well, I've experienced that. So I would make myself unattractive. So it's the same thing with wearing muted colors or, wearing all black or grays or whites, maybe not whites, but like off whites, but wearing just very bland colors. I would never wear like bright pink or, like something like that, because that would just be calling attention to me. Right. So you have all of those things that you do to protect yourself, right? You do. You do them to protect yourself. So I've done tapping around body image because this is my vehicle. This is the vehicle that I have for my spirit. And, I want my spirit to be carried in a vessel that's healthy. That's what I want. It's not about attractiveness. It's about healthiness. So it's all of those things. Doing movement, right? If I come home from work and I'm stressed out and when I'm overwhelmed, if I just plop down, and this is what I used to do all the time, I would come home and I either gamed for hours, like video games, because I don't know how many hours I have playing Borderlands, Destiny, what other games? Cyberpunk. Like there's a lot of games that I played, and or watching copious amounts of TV, right? Some people go home and the first thing they do is they get home, they crack a beer or pour a glass of wine and they drink all night, and that's their coping. That's not healthy coping. That doesn't get you healed. That just keeps you stuck in the same patterns. Plus, it's probably not healthy for your body on the inside over time, right? We know these things, but we do them anyway, right? It's like, a cigarette's unhealthy for you. You smoke because there's a belief system in your mind that is providing you a benefit of some sort. And I know because I used to smoke, but I quit that too because it's not healthy for you, right? So there's so many, it was just that eureka moment of, I know what to do to be healthy. I know how to heal these things, and it's using these natural ways. Whether it's using a soothing technique like this soothing technique, huge, huge. If you tell yourself in your mind, if you go through an experience in your mind, let's say, trying to think of one that I could use. Let's say your boss, you had a really terrible day at work. I do this with nursing. I'm going to tilt this down just a smidge. So let's say if you're a nurse, you've had this really terrible day at work, and you come home and you can't let it go, right? It was terrible. You had a code. I mean, I had a child years ago who kept coming into the emergency department with attempted suicides, and he was like 11. That's terrible. Like, even just saying that, I feel that emotion well up in me because, he's an 11-year-old boy repeatedly trying that. That was terrible. So for me, I can re-experience that memory, which invokes the emotion to it, and soothe through it by reminding myself that I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm protected, it's okay. And this rubbing my arms in this downward motion is going to bring me into delta waves, and it's going to make me feel like I'm being soothed, like I should have been when I was a baby. Right? So I can keep doing this and keep reminding myself that I'm safe and I'm okay, or whatever I need to override the experience that I've had. Right? So if you've been at work and you've had a really crappy day and you can't let it go, rewind your mind through the whole day. You're just going to step through that memory while you're doing this and saying, I am safe, I am protected, I am peaceful, whatever you need to go beyond that experience. And this works great for children. If your child is having a distressing moment, you can easily walk up and rub the outside of their arms in that downward motion, and it will bring them calm, right? The rapid eye movement is, I don't know who this Facebook user is that keeps popping up these little things, but they know me. they know my stuff, right? Rapid eye movement's a huge thing. So there's a whole group. When we do this here, there's a havening technique, which is based in that, and it uses the rapid eye movement as a part of it. When I do this here, if you were to go through the way that you would use the havening technique, is you would start with saying what you would get the memory. You would think on the memory, feel the feeling of the memory for about 2 minutes, right? And then you're going to assign a level of distress. Now, when you first start doing this, you don't want to start with like the most traumatic memory. I wouldn't jump into that time when I was kidnapped as my first experience with that. I might go with like maybe a relationship issue that caused some, traumatic experience that would be easier for me to handle. So I would start with something that's maybe like a 6 or a 7, but I wouldn't start with a full 10, because that's just like, why throw yourself into that? And before you do this stuff, you should have safe spaces. You should have a safe space in your home. You should have a safe space to be able to provide a safe space within your body, right? But you're going to pull the memory in for that 2 minutes, assign a value to it. So let's say it's a 7. And then you rub your arms in this downward motion, and the whole time you're just doing this with your hands on your arms. The first part of it, you're going to close your eyes and you're going to imagine that you're walking across a beach, and you're going to take 20 steps, and you're going to count out loud to 20. So you'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way till 20. When you get to 20, you're still doing this. You're going to open your eyes and you're going to look left and right. You're just going to do that 5 times. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Then you're going to close your eyes and you're going to envision that you're walking through a garden for 20 steps. Then after the 20 steps of walking through the garden, you're going to open your eyes and you're going to go back and forth 5 times again with your eyes in the lateral movement. It's like washing a screen. Okay, so I have like sleep in my eye or something. It's bugging me. So then you're still doing this the whole time, and you're going to go down a flight of stairs in your mind, counting 20 steps. Then you're going to open your eyes left, right, 5 times each way. And then you're going to rub your hands together, take a breath in, and then let it out. Then you call that memory back up and feel the emotions from it and assign a value. You would be at a 6, could be at a 5, could be at a 3, could be at a 2, but you're going to keep doing it. So if you assign it to a 5, let's say you feel that the emotional level that you have for that memory is now at a 5, you're going to go through it again, and you're going to rub the sides of your arms and walk through the whole process again, and then re-experience the memory, and maybe you'll be at a 3, and you keep doing it until you completely rid yourself of the emotional tie to that memory. So it's really, really amazing. And yes, you should. It's better to work with somebody that has your back. Absolutely. To have someone that guides you. So when I do my trauma program, the first part of my trauma program, the first lessons that I do with you is getting you to create a safe space in your home and to create a safe space within your body. Then the second thing I do is have you create 2 containers. One container is a big container that you can stuff all the bad stuff in that you're not ready to deal with at this time, so you can pull it out when you need to. And the other is a portable container. And you take that portable container with you, because then you can use that portable container you can use the portable container for when you have an experience when you're not at home, and it's just basically taking what happened. So one time I thought that my aunt, she died young of cancer, and I had been having some symptoms that really made me concerned that I maybe had colon cancer. So I had went to see my surgeon because I also had some issues with through the traumas that I've experienced. I had some issues, like I had to have a bowel resection at one point. So I went to see my surgeon and talked to him. And the one thing that I came to him, he couldn't help me. And he was definitely feeling that there was a need for me to be investigated for cancer. And when he said that, like, I was just absolutely not the information that I wanted to hear. But I had to drive myself home. I went by myself to the appointment, and I had to get myself safely home. So how do you do that when you're emotionally distraught? So I had to take everything that I was experiencing and put them in my container. And my container was a briefcase. Mentally, that's what I had it constructed as. And I could take that container and put it on the seat of the car, which I did visually. In my mind, it was sitting there, and it sat there the whole ride home. And then when I got home, I picked it up from the seat. I took it in the house, and I opened it up when I was in my safe space, where then I could deal with the emotions that came out from that. I could cry. I could, and you shouldn't be like bawling while you're driving. That's not safe. So this is why I had to do it that way. So originally my programming was a 3-month program, but I've extended it to 6 months now. And the reason why is because I wanted to make it more available to people. So I've extended it over 6 months, and this, lowers the amount that you would pay per month. And I also created a second program. So one program is with one-on-one sessions with me. The second program doesn't have those sessions. It just has all of the group programming that I do, plus the recorded education. Somebody that works directly with me, they get those one-on-one sessions on a monthly basis where we talk specifically about what your individual trauma is. So it's really more hands-on. And it does look at, nutrition. It will look at, it's all about it's about movement. It's like when I think someone was talking about like the color, like yoga, self-soothing, like all of those things. Like I do all of that. And the way that I work is using the phases of the moon, because I like the fact that on the new moon, it's an opportunity to set goals for the month. The full moon, which is approximately 2 weeks later, is an opportunity to let go of stuff that's not working for you, even releasing trauma, stuff like that. I do energetic healing sessions with people. I do inner child healing and recovery. I work with do cognitive behavioral topics, tapping, somatic experiencing. So I have a ton of different things that I encompass into that program with 5 group days. Like every day, Monday to Friday, there's a group program, a group session discussion with me that helps you as well. So lots of services that are available from me to help you with your trauma and mental health, because it is aligned, right? And the whole point is to get you to a point where you learn to love yourself again. Love yourself and be authentic. That is, to me, the source of healing, is being true to yourself and loving yourself, right? And it's something that you can learn. We were taught otherwise, and we were taught by people. If your parent did something bad to you, and not all trauma comes from people that are bad. Like that's one thing that I really want people to understand. If your parents traumatized you, that does not mean that your parents are bad people. I traumatized my sons accidentally in different ways. One way, and I talk about this too, the whole notion of allowing your children to cry themselves to sleep. When I was a child, because I was a child when I had my kids, I had 2 kids by the time I was 20. And I was a child for having a kid. When I was a child and had children, the notion was you allow them to cry themselves to sleep. Well, babies don't have the ability to self-soothe. That's why we attend to them. Right? They cry to have their needs met, and we should go in and soothe them and meet their needs. When we don't do that, they are left with that feeling that they're being abandoned. Their needs are being abandoned. And that's something I learned later on. I don't punish myself for what I didn't know when I didn't know it. I unintentionally traumatized my children because of what the normal knowledge was at that point in time. So I have moved beyond that now, and I'm working through it. But so not everything that happens to you happens because it came from someone that was being bad. Sometimes things happen that weren't intentional, but that can be harmful to your overall well-being. So, understanding that as well, that trauma doesn't necessarily mean that the people that did it were bad. However, sometimes trauma does, right? So my dad, who picked me up when I was 6 months old, leaned me over the arm of the crib and gave me a spanking so bad that I had bruises on my bottom and bruise across my stomach from being lied across the crib. That is a bad person hurting somebody, right? And I don't know why. I'm reading that. Yes, not trauma is hugely. And it is. It's the fact that you didn't have the soothing capabilities, right? So here I was asking for something as I was crying. So whether it was milk, soothing, a wet diaper, doesn't matter, whatever I was crying for. And what I got on the end of that was abuse. Rather than think my dad was bad, my inherent way of processing it, just like everybody else, is to think that I'm bad. There's something I've done. There's somewhere that I'm not lovable, or I'm not good enough, or I'm, I've made this happen to me, right? That's how we do. Because kids can't say to themselves, my parents bad. They say I'm bad, right? So that's one of those, which unfortunately happens. Yeah, exactly. Being forgotten to be picked up from school. Bullying in school is a big source of trauma for people, right? When you get bullied by your peers. Lots of times there's, even divorces. Divorces can cause trauma in children, right? Especially depending on how they're handled. So there's lots of ways that we acquire trauma. Not all of it is from a source of somebody actually being a bad person or being intentional in wanting to hurt you. But it's how we're left with, because we either didn't know how to soothe ourselves, or the people that should have soothed us didn't, right? So that's how we end up with our trauma, right? The fact that somebody didn't soothe us in a time when we were supposed to be soothed, or we didn't learn how to soothe ourselves. And most of us don't have really good soothing capabilities now. We soothe ourselves through drugs and alcohol, binge watching TV, eating, foods, all kinds of different ways, that workaholism, perfectionism, all of those are ways that we soothe ourselves. We just don't realize that that's what we're doing. Some of us soothe ourselves by procrastination. We get ourselves procrastinating so that we get those chemicals in our body that we just love, or we do adrenaline things because we just have an addiction to the chemicals that are in our body when we're in fight or flight because we've been in it so long. But That's a lot of information and not a lot of card pulls today, but I quite enjoyed it, and I would continue talking because you know me, I love to share as much as I can, but I am going to hop off because I have a call at 10 and I want to make sure that I'm ready for it. Bad relationships. Absolutely. Leaving and that's a hard thing to do because the way to leave the bad relationship is to learn more about yourself, love yourself, right? When you learn your worth, and you love yourself, then you won't tolerate anything that isn't standing up for your worth, that isn't in alignment with that worth, right? And it's easy for me to say now, I love myself. I love the life that I've built for myself. I'm quite content being alone. So for somebody to come into my world and be with me in my life, they have to contribute in a positive way, and I'm not going to disregard the red flags because I don't want to spend 2 to 5 years or 7 or 8 or 10 years. I mean, I've had 3 relationships long term in my life. One was 13 years, one was 6 years, and one was 8 years. And there were flags within the first 2 years in all of those relationships. It took me that long to build up my self-worth or, to see the flags as what they really are. So love you guys. One day at a time, one breath, one step. It's as simple as that. Love yourself and follow your bliss. I love you. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.